Well, I used to keep my money in a cookie jar. It was shaped like a cat, it was a present from my brother. I read a lot of books, but I couldn't see between the lines.
And there we go, and we are live. Look at us.
You know, as my dear friend and great songwriter from New York City, Roger Manning, once wrote, "Better late than too soon."
Well, we're obviously committed. We're obviously...
You know, I'd like our dozen listeners and watchers to understand how committed we are. There are computer issues on both sides of the thing. We're doing this from my phone today because my computer's giving me. So, and we wouldn't give up. We could have just said, hey, let's just skip it today. We're not making any money. This is just throw a laugh. But no, we knew that some of you out there, some of the
we're
10
actually,
of you out there.
you were actually trying to, yeah.
So Mikey's stick-to-itiveness.
Well, you know, we couldn't let you people down. You're our friends, and
speaking of which, you know, because a lot of the people who tune in are our friends and or fans of mine or whatever, and have seen me tell stories along with my songs at shows. Sometimes they'll ask for a certain story, and Timothy up in Virginia asked if I would tell the story of how I was once held in suspicion of murder in Glen Burnie, Maryland. So I will. It was the show Beyond the Groove that I've talked about, the British TV movie that was about the banker who finds the Cadillac and takes a magical mystery tour of American musical stars. Well, that the people making that were doing a show on Fox. Very first, this is how old I am, the very first show on Fox television. It was called Against the Law. It starred Michael O'Keefe, who had played Danny Noonan in Caddyshack, only this wasn't funny. And I think the show lasted like 3.5 episodes. I think halfway through the 4th episode, it went dark, and they said, sorry, we got this thing called The Simpsons we're working on. We'll be back. But anyway, they hired me and my friend Dickie Wentz, the intrepid Dickie Wentz, who was with me in last week's story, to come up to Boston to shoot this TV show in May. And they wanted to save money. They could have rented a camera truck out of New York, which is, 3.5 hours from Boston, 4 hours from Boston. But to save money, they rented one out of Atlanta. It was 1989, and there wasn't big film industry in Atlanta. There was none in New Orleans. So Dickie and I drove to Atlanta in his car, and we left his car in Atlanta and took this camera truck that we were going to drive to Boston from Atlanta. Well, they had gotten a good deal on it because the thing was a piece of crap, and the gears kept getting stuck. You'd be trying to get off the interstate, you'd be stuck in gear. You'd be freaking out trying to pound the gears out. So we got this truck that's going mad, and as we're driving through Virginia, we'd stopped in North Carolina for the night, and as we were driving through Virginia the next day, we noticed there was a lot of state troopers out, like pulling people over, and we just thought, man, state troopers are kind of dicks here. And so we're driving, it's getting dark, and I'm so stupid. We're only driving like, 25-foot U-Haul truck that's been converted to a camera truck. But I'm thinking I have to stop at a way station on the interstate. It says all big trucks, and it's a pretty big truck, So I'm over at this way station at 1 o'clock in the morning. There's state troopers everywhere with flashlights, and the truck's stuck in gear. And I'm in line, and I can't get it out of gear, and I have to stop in front of the cop. And Dickie's sound asleep, and the only problem is I don't have a driver's license. I haven't had a driver's license in a few years. I've just been driving without it, thinking, nothing will happen. And here we are. It's happening. There's a cop with a flashlight, and I'm driving. And so I wake up Dickie and shove him into the seat as the truck's still kind of rolling. And he comes to a jerking stop in front of the cop because it's still in gear. And the cop shines a flashlight in his face, and Dickie's still kind of blinking awake. And he goes, anything wrong with this truck, boy? And Dickie goes, no, sir, it's just kind of stuck in gear. And he's pounding the gear, and finally he gets out of gear, start up, and he goes, well, get the hell out of here. And we leave. It's really tense, and it's all cops are like, wow, what's going on? And by sunrise, we're in Maryland, just outside of we're in Glen Burnie, Maryland. And the truck is, it's stuck in gear. So we figure we'll get off at this exit. We see a sign for a Mack truck dealer. We'll get off here and we'll take it there and see what's going on. So we get off at the exit, and it's a pretty long exit, so we're kind of going fast. And then Dickie's trying to downshift, and it won't downshift. Dickie doesn't anything, and he punches it into gear so that it just jerks again to a stop as the truck goes whizzing by. So we're scared to death. And we drive to the Mack truck dealer, and they're like, yeah, your gear's stripped, and it'll be like 4 or 5 hours. Just leave your truck. So is there any place we can get a couple of beers, kill some time? And they go, yeah, there's a bowling alley up the way. So you're okay. Walk about a mile to a bowling alley midday on a weekday. And we open the door of the bowling alley, and the light floods in behind us. And there's only a couple of customers, and there's 3 women, 2 old and 1 young behind the counter. And they all turn and see us, and they freeze with big eyes. And I just thought to myself, man, I don't get a lot of strangers in Glen Burnie, Maryland. So I go up to the counter, and I go, hey, can I get some pool balls? Shoot some pool, a couple of beers. And the young girl comes back with a tray of pool balls, and she's shaking like this. And I'm just like, oh, man, they really don't dig strangers in this town. So we go over and we start shooting pool, and like 10 minutes into shooting, 6 state troopers walk in, and they head straight for us. Now, when I was young, I had a little bit of a chip on my shoulder. So this did not make me greet them warmly. This made me go and turn to them with my pool stick and go, is there a problem here? And yeah, you come in this room, you stay here by the pool table. And they separate us, and they go, what's your name? And he goes, give me your license. I give him my license. He goes, what's your name? I said, it's on the license. He goes, what's your name, smart guy? I said, it's Paul Sanchez. He goes, where do you live? I said, I live in New Orleans. He says, why does it say Connecticut on your license? I said, if you'll read further, it says Connecticut Avenue in Kenner, Louisiana, which is outside New Orleans. He goes, where are you going? I said, why do you need to know? He goes, I'll tell you what's wrong, tough guy. A state trooper was killed last night. You fit the description of the guy who did it. I just went, wow, well, hey, man, I'm really sorry about your friend, but I was in North Carolina last night, and, it's not anything to do with me. I was pretty casual, But then I look over by the pool table, and Dickie, who's got long hair, and he was a star pitcher at Jesuit. He was a star pitcher in college. He's never been in trouble with the law, and when he was gotten out of trouble because he was a star pitcher, baseball pitcher. He's like going through his pockets going, look, man, the guy's, he's a musician. He wouldn't hurt a fly. His brother's the president of the Firemen's Union. Call him. He'll vouch for him. He's going through his pockets looking for receipts, Finally, he finds a receipt from the night we're in the hotel in North Carolina when the cop was killed. And they say, okay, you guys didn't do it. We're going to let you go. So they said, we can't let you go until, and they kept changing questioners on me. They would leave somebody, they would send a different person in to ask me the very same questions, where you been, what you doing, let me look at your hands, which was a weird one. But every time they did, they had a cop with his hands on his gun watching me because they thought that I'd killed this cop, they thought this was it. And so finally they said, okay, we know you're not the guy, but the head investigator from the state police wants to see you before we let you go. So the head investigator comes in, and he asked me all the same questions. What's your name? Where are you from? And all of a sudden he goes, let me see your hands. Like barks at me like it was going to frighten me or scare me. And I just went, the guy missing fingers or something? What's going on with his hands? And he grabs my hands and he looks at them and he turns them over and he throws them down and he walks away. And they go, okay, you can go. I mean, like, no, nobody says, I'm sorry. Hey, we held you for 4 hours and we treated you like this. And we're sorry. I said, I was sorry their friend got killed, So nobody says they're sorry. They just say you can go. And we pick up the truck and it's fixed because they needed 4 hours to fix the truck. So we're going to go stay with my friend John Brown, who's a great fiction writer. And he was living just outside of Maryland at the time. And we figured we couldn't show up empty-handed, especially we're stressed out. We're going to bring some beer and some whiskey and some food to eat. We stop at a supermarket, and the cashier is looking at me like big-eyed, saying, look, the girls at the pool hall had looked at me with. And so I turn, I look, and I see a newspaper, and there's a composite sketch of the guy who killed the state trooper. And at the time, I had a big old bushy head of hair, and I was unshaved, and it was a little bit heavier, and I looked at it, I thought that guy looks like me. I'm going to buy some shaving cream and some scissors. Yeah, we're going to change this look tonight.
What state was that in, by the way? Maryland, Maryland.
It
So
was in Glen
I
Burnie,
have a similar
Maryland.
story in Mississippi. I'm trying to remember. Oh, Oxford, Mississippi. What's that?
You two were hurt
Not for murder,
and were
but a
held for
similar
murder.
situation because they were just touchy because a cop had gotten, first cop in Oxford history had gotten killed the weekend before. He'd gotten drugged behind a frat car. Like apparently the frat kids were drunk. He did a stop. Somehow got and the kids drove off, and somehow he was dragged. So yeah. Anyway, so the next weekend I'm at Lafayette's. We're playing with Cowboy Mouth at Lafayette's, and I'm outside talking to my wife, and she drops her purse, and we'd kind of gotten a little bit heated anyway because we were both drinking, and anyway, cop misconstrues what's going on there, and I'm trying to pick her stuff up off the floor, and he comes and tries to grab me from the back, and like you, I'd had a couple drinks, so I pulled a Sanchez, and I came around my elbow like that, and it was a cop. No, they didn't like that. So all of a sudden, there's like five of them.
No,
five of them jumped me. I was
really
on the ground
did.
in seconds, and then Skeet waited all night in his car to get me out of jail. And then the funniest part about the whole thing is, like, I'm the only guy. It's Oxford, so I'm the only guy in jail for a couple of hours. But we were the opening band. This happened right after we played. So as the night went on, more and more frat kids showed up in the jail, and they kept asking me questions as if I was the old dog. Yeah, just like, hey man, you think that there can be any other guys coming, any scary people? And I'm like, dude, I don't know. I'm not. This is your town, and they're talking about their mom and dad and hoping they could figure out a way to do it without their mom figuring out that they got trusted for drunk and disorderly. And whatever was going on this weekend, the cops were extra.
Well,
but I mean, it was easy. I
gone down. So what are you gonna do? I doing stupid shit in Maryland. Me and my friend Rick Kernhauser, we had gone down. I was living in New York City back in the mid '80s, and we had gone down to Cape May Courthouse in New Jersey with my first ex-wife and a friend of hers who she worked with, and I didn't feel like hanging out with either of them. It was 4th of July weekend, and all of a sudden, Ricky turns to me and goes, let's go visit John Brown in Baltimore, because John had moved to Baltimore by now. He was living in the city. And we're like, yeah, let's do that. And I just tell my ex I'm splitting. I'm going to go with Ricky to see John Brown. And we jump in the car. But we don't take into account that we're at the tip of a peninsula in New Jersey that we'll have to drive back a few hours up through New Jersey to go through Philadelphia on 4th of July Eve. Yeah, you're getting it now. You're feeling me. It was one of the stupider things, one of the stupider suggestions you could do to relax and go have beers with a friend. We could go to the beach and just said we were doing this and just had two of us had drinks. But no, we're going to drive. So we drive, and we sit in traffic in Philadelphia for about 2 hours. Just bumper to bumper at midnight. We've been on the road for 4 hours. We've been on the road 4 hours to get to Philly, and now we're in traffic for 2 hours, hating ourselves for leaving Cape May and thinking John's going to get asleep by the time we get there. He's not going to, So we make it through. We can't turn back because who wants to face that traffic, So we get to his street, but we've forgotten the address. We know the street, but we've forgotten the address. So there's a bar that we know he goes to that's near his house, and, we call him. He wakes up, like now it's like 1 a.m. He wakes up and he goes, hey guys, what happened? And I'm thinking I'm being funny. I go, hey man, we just decided not to come. We're in Cape May. And he goes, oh, that's cool. I'll just go back to sleep. I'm like, no, I'm being funny. Ha ha. We've been on the road for 8.5 hours. We're about to die. Please let us in. Which one of these row houses is yours? So we decided we're gonna head back. We had just a couple of drinks and we're just going to head back because he had a full day, and the whole thing was a disaster. And now it's like, I can't go back to the traffic in Philadelphia. It's close to 4 a.m. I understand that the ferry goes from the tip of Maryland back to Cape May Courthouse, and it opens at dawn. We'll just drive to the ferry, and we're in Delaware. It's in Delaware. We'll just drive to the ferry, and we'll go back to Cape May in the morning when it takes off. We'll sleep there waiting. So we're in Delaware, and he goes, well, where should we get off for the ferry? I said, well, look, there's a sign for the ferry. Just take that, and I'm sure it's close. I mean, Delaware's a small state. How far can it be? Which, again, shows how truly stupid I was when I was a young man. Yes, indeed, Delaware is a small state, but it's still a state. So after driving for like an hour and a half, and by this time we're just so exhausted, we pull into a time saver to get directions. Like, man, how far is the ferry? I mean, it turns out the ferry's almost as far as it is to Philadelphia, and what the hell, we might as well just drive home. By now, there's not going to be traffic in Philadelphia. So we're just like heads down, we're defeated, and we go, which way back to the interstate? And the guy goes, you pull out the parking lot and take a left. All right. We pull out the parking lot and we take a left. And as we're pulling out of the parking lot, this car's pulling in, and the guy yells out of his window, hey, you're going the wrong way. Right. And I look at my friend Rick and I go, how does that jerk know which way we're going? And that headlights come steaming towards us on the one-lane road because we were supposed to go across to the other side of the highway and take a left. And we're we're going into traffic, and we both scream, and Rick tears off through the medium of the two highways to get us in the right way, right in front of a cop who happened to have just pulled somebody else over, and they must have done something stupider because he's kept writing that ticket. And we made it out of there, and we get to the toll booth, and the lady looks down at two defeated young 20-something idiots, and she goes, that'll be $5. And Ricky looks up at her and he goes, you ever seen two idiots? And she goes, what? He goes, two of them right here. Take a good look.
Two of them right here. This is what we do for a living. And she's...
Oh. Yeah, Marilyn's and me.
Marilyn.
It's been a rough stretch.
Where was... when we were talking, I'm trying to remember what our accents. Where were they from? Connecticut. That's right. It was the Connecticut accents. Rhode Island.
Oh, we were talking about Rhode Island last week, and that got us in trouble. It was
right.
That was when Michael was on. And by the way, we have to decide a guest
true,
for Monday.
That's
so
true.
We'll have to talk
so
about that one.
Allison Dewar says, bowling alley, midday, weekday. It's nearly a Sheryl Crow song. So...
Well, I can't reveal too much to Sheryl Crow because, I did an interview with Offbeat where I announced just before the pandemic that I was going to be retiring from performing. Next week, she's on NPR retiring from performing for the same reasons I put on Offbeat. And I just thought, that chick has been stalking me now since the first
kid
she had. It's actually
kind of sad because, you would think a woman like her, she's got her own career. But no.
No, she had to just pinch my retiring thing just to steal my thunder. That's all right. Some people, they're jealous. They don't. That's all right. I love her stuff, and I love her. She's a beautiful woman inside and out.
Some people just need that attention.
The best, but they say, what? They say the average one.
She's absolutely one of the great ones. She stole all your ideas, obviously. Hey, today is Superhero Friday. And I know we're not quite there yet, Luis, so you don't have to call in yet. But next week, go ahead. You were saying? Sorry, I interrupted you. Yeah, well, we started late, so he might have been like, I'll give you a couple of minutes or whatever. Who knows? By the way, did I tell you how handsome you look today? Oh, by the way, people want to know what the problem was. Why were we damn late? iTunes. We're blaming iTunes, right? Isn't that the...
Yeah, well, it was a number of things. My computer would not restart to install the new audio that connects to Skype because my iTunes refused to shut down because I remember the password, and every time I tried to reset the password, they wanted me to put in the password that I wanted to change, which obviously...
Huh. You muted yourself somehow, and you froze. Did you get a phone call? You got a phone call. That's what happened. So this is what happens, people. When you do it on the phone, Paul gets a phone call. He actually looks different on one screen than the other. So that's kind of funny. But, yeah, I guess I should have told him to put the Do Not Disturb on. But, if in the meantime, we can talk a little bit. It's Superhero Hey, Luis is ready. It's Superhero Friday. Luis is ready. Well, I tell you what, Luis. Why don't I call both of you again? Because I think Sanchez, I lost him some kind of way. Let me see if I can. Let's try to call Paulie back. Oh, that was my video. Never mind. Let's see here. So the fun part about this that we discovered is that you guys get to watch me actually work here because I'll tell you what, I'm going to call both of those guys again. You guys get to watch me work here because I can't, you know, trying to multitask doesn't really work, really, ultimately. See, look, there we go. We're Skyping. See what Skype likes to do to us? Turns everything blue. But in the meantime, I'm trying to see if I can get Paul to answer. And since he was using his phone, although that is a funny face, I look up there and I see his funny face is still up there. Anybody writing to me? No, you guys don't care. You know, like, is something going on? I don't know. So, yeah, we got no Paul. Where did Paul go? I guess I have to call him again. Let me try this. Let's try to do that. Let's see if we can do that. And try to join it again. See if we can get those two guys to answer. Oh, there we go. It's supposed to be Paul coming up. And it's supposed to be both of them. Let's see if they come up. I got Luis. All right, hold on. Let's see if we can get Paul to answer. Or did we lose Paul?
Yes.
All right, Luis, I'm bringing you on with me, but no Luis.
Try to join it again.
Let's get that one.
Try to join it again.
There's probably a lot of that going on. Hey, there's Luis. How you doing, Luis? I see you on my screen here. So I'm going to bring you.
Let's see if we can. I got Luis.
I'm just waiting for Paul. Is the only issue. I don't know where Paul is. Let's see. Actually, you don't belong in that one. You belong in this one. Right, Luis? So this should be you. Let's see if this is actually Luis. I think Paul's calling us back, hopefully. And then there's Luis. Hey, I think I see something coming from Paul, maybe. Could that be? No, not yet. That's still just you, Luis. You can hear me, though, right, Luis? Or can you? Okay, let me turn on that one. There's Luis. I can actually hear him.
How you doing? How you doing?
I'm good. I'm just looking for Paul, which I don't see yet, but I do see you, and you're online with me, and we can talk about superheroes without him, right? No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, sure we could. And I feel like Cousin Oliver from the Brady Bunch, whenever I call in, because you guys have like a good conversation going all the time, and I just feel like I'm interrupting, and I don't like interrupting.
Paul went silent before you even see what happened today was he was trying to work his computer, and his computer wasn't happy about it. It was like saying, you know what, we're not doing this today.
You know, even to the fact that you even get Paul online is a miracle, right? You know, I mean, like one time when he had a gig in Chicago, it was during his birthday, and you know he went to his hotel, and you know he booked his hotel, but he had booked it a week from that day, so it was like.
Right. It's coming. All right, well, you know what? While we're waiting for him to try to call us back in, Superhero Friday, is there any movies coming out right now? Like any, I'm trying to remember, is it Superhero Day today? Yeah. That's next week. Yes. So what did you think about the ending? Yeah? Right. Mephisto, right?
Right, Mephisto would have been, in my opinion, I would expected Doctor Strange to show up. Right.
Yeah, me too.
Did you like the ending?
I honestly thought the same thing. I thought Doctor Strange was going to show up. So it kind of, disappointed me just a little bit. I have to be honest, especially in that. And I missed the very end credit scene because, like, the early ones, they didn't have the end credit scenes, and then suddenly I guess 3 episodes from the end, they started showing them. So I kept missing those.
Right.
And then apparently at the end of it, Wanda is looking at, is it the Darkhold that she's looking at? And then
looking at the Darkhold button.
And then her, she starts hearing her sons, right, crying. So I didn't actually see that, but I heard somebody talk about it online.
No, it's a good episode. It's a good ending because here's the deal. She's not just looking. Oh, spoilers for people who don't watch it, and so whoever doesn't follow the TV show.
What's funny is if you don't follow the comics, you're not going to know what we're talking about anyway, right? Because
you know what, you don't need to follow the comics as long as you're following the movies, right? As long as they're making it pretty self-contained.
They are.
It's like when somebody tells me, like, Luis, did you see the Harry Potter movies? I'm like, I did. Well, the books are better. Well, dude, I don't have time for the books. Right. I used to be a school teacher, and the best thing I got to was listen to the books on CD. That was, me sitting down and actually taking time to read a book. Man,
forget it.
That was reserved for comics, right? It wasn't reserved for Harry Potter. I'll tell you that much. So then, what ends up doing and what ends happening at the end of this scene is she's reading the Book of Darkhold, but in her astral plane form, right?
Uh-huh.
A lot like how Doctor Strange was doing it. But their insinuation here is, while Doctor Strange was doing it, he was doing it while he was sleeping, right? She was doing it while she had a cup of coffee on her front porch of her cabin that she flew to. So it just pretty much gives you the indication that, there he is.
Hey, is he back? Hey, he figured it out.
Yeah.
We just kind of went on without you for a second. We figured you'd be back, though.
My phone died.
Oh, that's what it was. That's funny.
Which is perfect for how much trouble we had today.
Yes.
I thought it was me calling in that interrupted your phone. That's what I was like for the worst.
So right now, I'm just trying to find you.
Where's Luis? I don't see him.
He's on there too. I don't know why you don't see him, but he's there too. Okay. But I'm trying to get your picture right now. So give me 1 second while I try to find your picture again. Just like before, it doesn't want to come up. Stupid picture. But we were talking. Go ahead. Will you finish your thoughts while I'm working on that, Luis? So that
no, just the fact that it just pretty much demonstrated that she's a lot more powerful than Doctor Strange.
Right.
And it's raw. You know what I mean? So she's going to end up, and of course everybody was hoping for everything that happened with the X-Men. And so for the fans that you have out there who don't know what happened, back in the 90s, right, the comic book industry was really bad for Marvel, and they went bankrupt. So when they went bankrupt, they sold off their movie properties to different studios. So Fox had bought X-Men, Fantastic Four. Sony bought Spider-Man, right? So all these different studios, end up with a different movie, different characters. So in the late 2000s, Disney needed that 18 to 50 demographic for males, right? They had the Disney princesses down.
Right.
But they had nothing to fill that void of that demographic, so they bought Marvel. And especially since Marvel had a successful movie like Thor and Iron Man, that's when they took over the controls for Marvel. So now fans are like, I would love to see Spider-Man in my Marvel movies. I would love to see X-Men in my Marvel movies. And so Disney was like, so would we. So that's why within the last several years, Disney acquired Fox.
So wait, have y'all already talked about WandaVision?
No.
A little bit, yeah.
A little bit.
Did you finish it, Mikey?
No, we didn't.
Oh, well, then we can't talk about it because there's spoilers.
Oh.
Okay, so here's what I want to talk about. Because I was up late last night watching Batman Begins, which is one of the better superhero movies of modern times.
Mm-hmm.
Why do we fall down, Master Bruce? So we learn to get up, pick ourselves up again. However, the follow-up, The Dark Knight Rises, he's hardly in the movie.
Well,
he's hardly in the movie.
Wait, the follow-up is Dark Knight. Dark Knight Rises is the third part.
Which one is
Dark
the
Knight
not?
Rises, third
Dark
part.
Knight. Which one is the not in?
No, Batman's in all of them, but the last one, he's like in the least with Bane.
Yeah, it's like it's unbelievable. It's Batman, but they should have called it something else because it's Batman making a guest appearance, really.
It's pretty much what it was. I mean, so like when I was listening to your show when you had Michael on, right? And I didn't realize he was in the Gotham TV show. And like when he was in it, so I had to go back and watch it, right? I actually went back to watch it, and he was in it for about a month, right? 4 episodes and everything. And then at one point, what made me laugh is I had like an indirect Michael Cervais story, which I won't tell since he's not here, but...
That's all right. Keep telling. I'm sure he can hear you.
There goes his... I didn't even look up to see if he was gone.
Oh, he's got a C. I see.
Oh, so no, I was gonna demonstrate this. So
me either, but who knows? He could still be there.
But so now, wait. So now he wants to hold off on WandaVision, though. Kind of watch Batman Begins. No. So
well, you know what I have to say. As much as I hate streaming, because I don't like streaming, because we don't get paid, I do like binge watching. And so WandaVision, you had to go back to sort of old time television pacing of waiting for the next episode. And I don't generally watch shows with commercials.
And that's fine.
But I plan on watching WandaVision because of how much you liked it. I value your opinion. You've led me to some great superhero movies.
Right. Okay. So wait. So check this out. So I was saying about Michael Cervais. So what made me laugh is years ago, I was going to take a trip to New Orleans, and Paul goes, "Hey," I sent Paul a message saying, "Hey, I'm coming down to New Orleans." And Paul goes, "Hey, great. Are you going to come and see Nine Lives?" I had no idea Nine Lives was playing that weekend. I get online. I buy 2 tickets for Nine Lives. I'm like, I'll be there. So we get to Nine Lives, and I'm watching the show. Michael Cervais comes on, and I'm thinking, how the heck did Paul get Billy Corgan to do this show? He looked like Billy Corgan to me. And I'm like, I was just dead tired. But, of course, when I thought of that story, I still had the playbill.
Oh, wow. That's nice, buddy.
11 years ago, October 2011. That's crazy.
Yeah.
If you want one, I actually had 2 of them. So
take it. I'll take it.
You take it? All right. See you later.
Absolutely.
I got them safe and everything.
Nice. Thanks, buddy.
Of course. So yeah, so that would have been my Michael Cervais. That's a shortened version of my Michael Cervais story. That was like.
Then he told us when he was on Monday that the character he played in Ant-Man, that they filmed a bunch of extra scenes for that they didn't actually use in the movie.
Right. I mean, the character's known, but not as popular. They know who Egghead is, but trust me, nobody was like, we need more Egghead. It's not like. But of course, what sort of frustrates me with WandaVision is you had the 2 Avenger female characters. One gets killed in the Avengers, and this one sort of goes, gets mentally unstable. You're getting rid of the cool girls. You're taking away all the women from the Avengers team. Come on, we need to keep them in there or get some other ones in. Something. Sure, you have Captain Marvel, but she's not an official Avenger just yet.
No, she's not an Avenger.
Not yet. She will be.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think the Avengers definitely need to have female superheroes.
Yeah.
And the Avenger, I mean, the Marvel superheroes are so much cooler than the DC superheroes.
So I actually had a conversation with a friend of mine about that. He's DC, I'm very Marvel, so I like to pick on him, right? I mean, it's just some people. Again, a friend of mine, easy target. And, the DC world has these characters that you try to look up to. You have the Supermans that you try to look up to. But you have Marvel, who you could identify with, right? Spider-Man's trying to save the world, but he has to do his home little things.
Right.
Has to learn how to pay the bills, pay the rent. You don't see Superman have to worry about those things, right? So, and of course, it's easier to identify with a character from Marvel because, nobody's from Metropolis, right? Nobody knows. You're not from Metropolis, but people are from Queens. And people visited Queens because Spider-Man's from there.
I think the fact that the Marvel movies inject humor into it, because, it's a lot of us are adults. Some of us are old adults that are watching superhero movies. And to have a couple of jokes and to have Robert Downey Jr. sort of wink at the camera now and again reminds you that it's okay to have a sense of humor and watch a superhero movie as escape now and again, as opposed to it being like you're 10-year-old and you're reading the DC comic. And DC comics are sort of heavy. They're sort of like the truth, justice, in the American way, which was great in 40. But, you know, a wink and a nod goes a long way to helping me believe that Batman wants to fight Superman, for God's sakes, again. I mean, I hate to harp on that.
But
Jesus, with the stupidest movie
because Frank Miller
in superhero
his
history.
comic was good, you know, and I thought the idea of what they were trying to do, it was just too soon, you know. But I think the reason they went that direction was because, you know, they felt like they'd already covered a lot of ground with the early Superman series.
I don't think Paul knows that comic, so you almost have to.
Yeah, I understand. Luis has already told me that the comic existed prior to the movie.
No, but it's brilliant.
I don't
you
care.
Don't understand. It's brilliant.
Whoever thought
Superman
of it,
has the kryptonite thing is a major bummer for him. The sad part is like I watched that.
It's a major bummer.
It's the only thing they can ever flip and use. Right.
He's a god who can melt you with his eyes. And Bruce Wayne is a billionaire with a lot of toys. And at this point in the movie, he's an old billionaire. He's like fighting Mitch McConnell.
Kryptonite turns him into a.
Hey, Mitch McConnell's pretty powerful, man. You got.
I mean, he might be more powerful than Ben Affleck, but still, it's like, you know, it's like Superman goes up to Mitch McConnell and goes, "I'm going to melt you with my eyes," and Mitch goes, "I'm going to pass a bill against it." It's not going to work.
So. You might actually enjoy this, Paul.
Yeah.
At the end of the second one, the main character, Bill, which is David Carradine, talks about the difference between Spider-Man and Superman and how Superman actually, his disguise is being mortal, whereas, you know, our alter ego is being human, and, you know, Spider-Man's is Spider-Man. That's his alter ego. And he talks about how Clark Kent is such a bumbling idiot that is somehow Superman's view of the human race. The thing that he puts forward is his view of the human race, which is, and the way that Tarantino draws it out, of course, it's brilliant, right? But it comes from a place that you just didn't see before, and I thought it was great. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, right, Luis? Wasn't it a great? Not.
Yeah. When he said that, I would have just killed Bill.
I loved it.
I would just like, dude. I was like, dude, just shut up already, man. Just make.
No, come on.
You could have killed 20 minutes for the movie. Bill, done. You know, that was the reason she killed. She didn't kill him because of what happened with the kid. She killed him for that stupid analogy with Superman. I would have killed him for that. I mean, honestly, man, listen. Think about Spider-Man. You know, he gets bullied, right? He gets bullied. As Peter Parker, he gets bullied, but he can't understand why. Admire him as Spider-Man. You know, he really wants to tell these people, I'm Spider-Man, right? But, you know, his sense of self and he knows what's going on. You know, he's not going to say, listen, I'm Spider-Man, you have to respect me now, right? So, honestly, Spider-Man's an everyman, you know, and Spider-Man becomes humorous when he's dressed like Spider-Man. Peter Parker, he's a geek. When he's dressed like Spider-Man, he's creative.
No, you're right. His personality changes. It is like an alter ego.
He lets it all out.
Truly an alter ego. But do you know, Spider-Man also is very stronger than half of these guys. I don't know if they've really shown it. I guess he grabs the Winter Soldier's arm in Civil War so easily and just stops it. I think maybe that's kind of one of the clues. But Spider-Man is super strong. He's like way stronger than Captain America and all of that stuff.
Okay.
Yeah. And let me tell you what the new Marvel movies haven't done, right? No, they didn't touch on Uncle Ben.
It felt like it's been a retread, right? But go ahead.
You know, he died and that was it. What? Right, but the thing about Spider-Man, which may be flawed, is that he carries that guilt on himself every day, right? No matter who he defeats, no matter which villain he beats, he still has on the shoulders that he could have helped prevent his uncle's death. Right. And that's what makes him a character you could identify with. That's that one stone that you threw, you can't get back, no matter what you do, in life, right? And he carries it, even though people have told him
Stan Lee did try to make sure that. I mean, Spider-Man's not the only one who has to live in the real world and deal with pain in the ass. Iron Man's a freaking alcoholic in the comics. So, you know, Marvel, Yeah, Marvel came from a different angle than DC, but to be fair, DC started sooner with the superhero thing at a different time, you know. So they built their characters at a more idealistic time. Marvel's stuff kind of started coming out in sort of that counterculture era, 60s, 70s kind of thing when they started building there. So you had a different mindset.
An interesting distinction, right? It's an interesting distinction. DC comics were more war and post-war to inspire the masses, type of thing.
I mean, why did Captain America come out? Captain America, you know, came out during World War II, right? What's the cover? Captain America punching Hitler, right? It's, you know, it's something everybody wants to do to a fascist person, Nazi, whatever, right? I mean, well, I got to pick this up, you know, and then you have, you know, the 60s. You know, why did Marvel come out with Black Panther? You know, why was X-Men? Well, the X-Men was funny because
yes, I remember the story. Go ahead.
Stan Lee started running out of ideas, right? You know, yeah, Stan Lee was running out of ideas. So, you know, everything Stan Lee wrote, everything had some kind of scientific background. Spider-Man was bitten by a radioactive bug. You know, Hulk had a gamma ray. What is a gamma ray? You know exactly. But he knew it was based in science. So when he started running out of ideas, he said, you know what? They were just born this way. I'm running out of what's happening. You know what? They're just born this way. Somebody could lift a car. Somebody could control the weather. They're just born this way, right? And it saved him a lot of backwriting. But then it became a thing about racism. You know, it became a book about being different. You know,
and the
so
movies
I'm born
really
this way. I
leaned
can't
into
change
that
it.
side of it. You
know,
know,
so he nailed two birds
even more
with
than
one stone.
what I think you know Marvel was doing.
Yeah.
Early on, because like you said, it was just a way that he could go, how can I give him these powers without having to come up with some reason, which is, you know, really funny. It's like, they're all mutants. That's what it is. They're all mutants.
Right. Right. They're all mutants. And like supposedly like the new movies now, they're going to be
interesting. And you
calling them mutants and not X-Men. They're trying to make everybody happy. You know, can't use the name men in there. But that's not why they were created that way. But again, you know,
well,
you got Pepe Le Pew
mentioned,
getting
like,
canceled.
You know, it's funny because yes,
everybody's still playing
X-Men
the
is part
violin
of a society
you know?
wide thing that was going on at the time, right? I mean, just X-Men just meant X people, right? That's just the way it was at the time.
With extra power.
Not for nothing, but
right,
men and
I know
women.
we've gotten weird
so
technically
X-Men
about
could cover both.
X-Men being an issue, but.
Oh man, when you get into a Mr. Potato situation, Mr. Potato Head situation, because I had a Mr. Potato Head when I was a little kid. He came with sets of eyes, a couple of different mustaches, a couple of different noses. He didn't come with one dick or one vagina. Because he was a potato. He was a plastic potato.
He came with ears.
It was a plastic fucking potato.
Right. I know.
Pepe Le Pew is a cartoon. He can't hurt you.
Look,
no more than the dinosaurs in Jurassic Park can hurt you.
Right.
And to be honest, I don't care if Mr. Potato Head is Mr. or Mrs. Sorry. I like the changing the noses and the mustache, trying to make him look like Groucho 1 minute with a little funky hat on, and then make him look like a respectable fireman because he's got a fire helmet, and you gave him the walrus mustache like the fireman like so much.
How old are you, Luis?
Come on, you were 6. You didn't have a
Luis?
whole lot of thought pattern here.
The interchangeable fireman as well. What's that?
45 young. So you're Gen Xer too then.
45 young in about a couple of weeks.
So the funny thing about us Gen Xers is like, for us, it was like freedom of speech was freaking everything, right? It was always about freedom of speech, freedom of speech, freedom of speech. And now I look and I go, why are we trying to kill freedom of speech just because you don't agree with the ideas? I mean, our whole generation was about letting people have their ideas. If you didn't agree with them, turn the channel. That was the Gen X way. You know, that's kind of a very core belief for us. And this idea these days of like, you know, cutting people off, it's just, I don't get it. I don't understand it. Gen Z.
Actually, take it a step further.
No,
I like
millennials
what
are
do
Gen
they
Y.
call the
Gen
young
Z is
kids
the
now?
new-
What is their
Millennials.
what's that?
Oh,
Gen Z. I like the young kids. Like, they don't want to own houses. They don't want to buy into anybody's dogma. They don't want to have their sexuality labeled in any way. I just think it's a revolutionary future ahead of us if we can release some of the dogma that we all, your generation as well, adhered to. Because when we were all young, especially when I was young, you know, the priests were infallible, and you listened to your teachers and your parents, and you had dogma. You had people you had to believe. And the young people today, they might hear it in school, and they might get on the computer with, like, a 10-year-old could hear that Cuba's communist, and he goes home, he gets online with a 10-year-old in Cuba, and they go, we got baseball, we got good sandwiches, you know, it's pretty cool. And then they're friends, and they don't care about the rest of it. And that's how you get past it all. And it's you know, I'm hopeful with the young people that they want less material possessions and they want a more open lifestyle.
I've got a Gen Z
They don't
kid.
talk about black and
one
white.
One of them's Gen Z, one's Gen Y, or two Gen Y, one Gen Z. And the Gen Z is different. They do have a different outlook on things. It is interesting. Although my thing about them is just always trying to remind, and I think it's probably more about being young, is to try to put yourself in other people's shoes, even the people you don't agree with, you know. But I think that's part of being young. But it's funny. I think you're right. The Gen Zers just sort of have a, and a lot of times they were saying that a lot of those kids came up through the 2008. You know, all of our generations had defining moments. With the millennials, especially the second. There's two batches of millennials, but the second batch was all 9/11 stuff. And there's a lot of 9/11 stuff with the millennials, the way they were raised. But then the 2008 financial crisis affected the Gen Zers, and it kind of puts them back similar to our generation when we came out of the Depression and stuff like that. Because for a lot of kids, they lost, you know, their parents were doing fine, and suddenly they're not anymore. So.
Although it's sort of like, I think it's a deeper thing, because financially it's there. But I mean, you're talking about children that have known a world without mass school shootings, you know, a world without mass terrorist killings, a world without completely divisive and uncivil politics. There used to be decorum to the politics, and there's not even the pretense of decorum anymore. You know, it's a different, impolite, uncivil society that we're living in. And so I don't know. I'm hoping that they don't buy into that dogma either. That they're nicer. You know, just why? From my youth, it's cool it's cooler to be cool than it is to not be cool.
Whatever, and your kid gets an opportunity to go overseas for one of these, I can't remember what the name of it was for Allie. It's People to People or something like that. Anyway, she got a chance to go overseas a couple times when she was young. Fifth, sixth, and seventh grade, she went overseas, and changed. You know, she came back a different person.
Yes, and I think that anytime you get a chance to travel to another country, especially when you're young, you know, I think it was Mark Twain said, "Travel's
you get to meet people
best
that you never
for bigotry." So we've strayed far from superheroes, and
no, it's fine with me. I don't have any kids, so I really can't.
To wrap up time.
Oh man, we talked
Luis might share a superhero story that might be related to his mom.
And so we did kind of go into some.
Well, Luis's mom, who passed away during the COVID epidemic, not from COVID, but she passed away during the epidemic. One of the funniest folk humorists since Will Rogers. He would post stuff that his mom would say on Facebook, and I'd just be like, the woman's a simple genius.
Oh, you want a quick story then?
Yeah, quick.
Okay. So one day I was going through old photos, and I find pictures of my mom in her youth. And, you know, I really, you know, I found the same ones that we've seen over and over. And I'm like, Mom, why? I mean, I know it was back in the old day and everything in Mexico, but how come I don't have too many pictures of you as a young girl? She goes, I gave them friends. I'm like, what? She goes, yeah, Luis. She goes, I gave them to all my boyfriends. I said, that's why you don't have that many pictures? She goes, that's correct. She goes, I just want you to know something, right? Whenever I gave them a picture, I never put the word love on there. It was never love from me. She goes, in Spanish, it goes, lo que se escribe, vive. Once it write it, it breathes. And she goes, since it was a small pueblo, it's a small town, you know, when you're with a new guy and you see the ex walking down the street, she goes, you don't want that guy coming back to you and saying, hey, listen, remember you said you loved me. So she goes, I would never write love to no man. Never to no man. That way they never had anything on top of me. And I said, really? Even dad? She goes, well, especially your dad. You know, she goes, he would write me like 2 or 3 letters of love. She goes, I'd skim it to try to get the gist of it. And he'd get mad that I only write back a paragraph, but he wouldn't get the fact that he wouldn't catch the idea that don't write so much, right? So, you know, so I'm over here taking notes like, no love, never put it down, never write it, because you pigeonhole yourself. You say something, and she's right. You know, when you know, we could be saying something here, but write it down, that's what people take a beat on, right? So you never, you know, you can have a conversation, you know, it becomes hearsay, but the moment you write it down, either you're playing or in a text, you know, she's not wrong, you know?
Okay, once you write it down, it breathes.
Yep.
That's a great place to end.
Same to you.
Well,
Yeah.
I'll take it easy.
Take
I got
care,
a
brother.
meeting soon, so you guys take it
And
easy.
so,
Hi, buddy. Good to see
Have a nice weekend.
I'm so.
Oh, hey, Mike, I put a
You know,
Facebook
after I
request
check
and you still haven't
Facebook,
responded.
see,
okay?
I'm the slacker here.
I'm getting real South Park on you. I'm getting.
All right.
I got real South Park on you.
Wait, you didn't like
Hey,
any
you
of my
know, I
pictures.
sent you a
What is
message
going
where
on here?
I was trying to send you. I was going to send
I'm
you
sorry.
the
You know, it's
the
you
David
know what's
Grohl
funny
one,
is
but I
I've
was
been
like,
digging
you
deep into
know,
this
that's
colors
why.
thing, and like I've been listening to tutorials while I sleep, and just so I can get it like into my head, it's like I'm coursing some stuff. Anyway, yeah. Thank you.
That's
See you next
yeah,
week.
okay,
So
that
Paula,
doesn't work
let's really quickly.
I'll see you.
I'm going to switch to you and me here, and
Yes.
that's close enough. You're
Yes.
in like 5 different images. That's hilarious. So anyway, long story short, let's see which one. This is the one that talks.
Funny.
Let's really quickly. If anybody has any thoughts about people that they want us to talk to, like Joaquin Phoenix, we can get him on the show if you want. We'll give him a shout. You don't think?
No, we can't get Joaquin Phoenix. No, we can't get. We could probably get Joachim Phoenix. We could probably get
Joachim. Get Joachim
Phoenix.
Joachim's my man, by the way. You know, me and Joachim. We go.
I know you have a bond. I know you have. I have some ideas for Mondays. I have some ideas for Mondays.
Like we did with Griff. Yeah, you surprised me
first.
too with that one, by the way. So that was good stuff. All right. Well, then I guess.
Well, this was fun. It was fun talking to Luis and talking superheroes and talking to you, and thanks Timothy and Virginia for asking for the murder story.
iPhones for running out of
and
power.
We'll see you. Oh, what a day it was for restarting computers and restarting Skype and iPhones out of powers, and yeah, it was great. It's great. We hit a new mark on technical difficulties.
Yes, I think we actually hit a mark that I didn't know we could hit. I mean, honestly, I think I'm impressed too.
I'm kind of impressed. Than ever. We were more of a mess than ever.
Yes, we just like, you know what?
And we plowed through.
Paul's frozen for, a minute and a half, and me and Luis are going to just move on.
You're just going to talk.
Yeah.
Paul,
you should have seen me
much
while
to
I
say
was trying
about
to get
this
Luis on,
anyway.
and I'm like going, guys, multitasking is hard. So I'm trying to multitask here. So, all right, man. Talk to you soon.
All right, buddy.
Bye.
Well, I used to keep my money in a cookie jar. It was shaped like a cat, it was a present from my brother. I read a lot of books, but I couldn't see between the lines. I'll have another cup of coffee if you don't mind. Well, her hair is as black as an alleyway, and it used to be red, and it used to be blonde. Truth is, her hair changes color all the